Thank you everyone for coming. You're here for the exclusive book launch of Beneath Magnolia Skies, what a wonderful title. Writings from Sikkim and the Darjeeling Hills. It's a collection of short stories. So we have one of the co-editors, Prava Rai, here with us today, and the other co-editor, Mona Chetri, is not with us today. And she's in conversation with Dr. Easterine Kire, who I hope you heard a couple of days ago. She read some wonderful poetry at the inauguration. Prava Rai was born in Kheosing in West Sikkim, and she spent her early years in Rapong and went to school in Darjeeling and finished her studies in Delhi University and later JNU as well. Whilst she was in Goa, she used to edit the Goa Heritage Action Group journal, and she worked with NGOs, which was involved with rural development. And in 2015, she edited a special issue on Sikkim culture and art for Mumbai's Marg Publications on the current Sikkim situation. Dr. Kine is a renowned poet, and we had the privilege of hearing some of her poetry a couple of days ago. She's a novelist, a short story writer, a winner of a clutch of awards over the years, and she was born in Nagaland but did her PhD in Pune in English literature. She's a pioneering voice in Naga literature, and we're very lucky to have her. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for coming. It's a very thin audience, but I hope you'll enjoy our presentation. This is a book, Beneath Magnolia's. When do we release it? Later?
I think it's just here.
Sorry?
We'll cover you just
Sorry?
Release it after you.
Okay. So this book, Beneath Magnolia Skies, writings from women's writing from Darjeeling, Sikkim and Darjeeling Hills, is the last volume of a project that Zuban started with Kasagawa, right? Sagawa. Yes. Peace Foundation funding. And they had done all the other, states from Nagaland, from Mizoram, all this. And Sikkim was the last one to... when I saw all these books, I said, we should have one from Sikkim also. We are part of the Northeast, though we are at the far end. And initially she said there's no money, then some money came by and she said, let's do it. So Mona and I, we decided, okay, we'll do it. And both of us have lived outside Sikkim, and we still are based, Mona is still based in Tasmania, but she's very closely associated with us also. She's an anthropologist and a brilliant scholar. And so two of us decided we'd do this, and we sent out what shall we call it? Speaking up, we thought, and then we sent out a call, and we got many responses, and we were very, very surprised and happy. And we decided that we would also include not just Sikkim like the other states have done exclusively their own, but also Darjeeling and Kalimpong, because they're contiguous geographical areas and we are culturally quite close, the same people. So, and they don't get the same opportunity as we do as states in the Northeast. We get special privileges that, So when we did this and we opened it up for the women in Darjeeling and Kalimpong, they're very, very happy. And we decided to be as inclusive as possible. So we have in the book writings from, it's academic writing, poetry, short stories, essays, and also the established writers as well as very young writers. And we also included writings in Nepali, which we translated. We wanted other language writers also, but we couldn't find them. And we have one Hindi poem also, which is translated. So that is the background. And Beneath Magnolia Skies, the title, the Magnolia, has a wonderful symbolism. It's a beautiful flower. It's a symbol of strength because the tree is very strong and the flowers are very gentle. So it's, and we came to this title. We talked about it in the beginning. We thought let's make it crossroads conversations because we have many different people coming, migrations and all that coming into us. So let's make it that way. But it didn't sound so good. So then we decided upon it was Mona's idea actually to call it Beneath Magnolia Skies, and I love the symbolism of it, and I think most people have appreciated that name, and it goes with the stories and poems that we have included, which talks about gentleness and resilience and strength of women's experiences and their lives. Yeah. So I'll now ask Easterine to just give us a little bit about the Naga book also. That'll be nice, and then you can ask me questions.
Yeah, it's been.
What is this?
Is that one, I think?
Yeah.
What Zuban has done, and I know this much only, but I'll share that with you, is each state they've managed to get really lovely women to write poetry or prose, and there are lovely short stories. In the Nagaland book, they had this wonderful young artist. Her name is Teja, and it's really worth going through all these books. I enjoyed that, and I really liked the book from Meghalaya. I think they said, or they wrote, "We come from clouds." And Meghalaya, if you've not been there, is a very cloudy state, but cloudy in a beautiful way. It's like the heavens are lowering themselves. And as you drive past the big river, the Barapani, in the morning it's just mist and low cloud. So it's magical. All these stories and all these books, they make you want to visit those places all over again. Mizoram, if you haven't been to Mizoram, I'm going to invite you to Mizoram because, again, that's a wonderful place. There's hardly any land, so they built onto the hillside their houses. It's like the houses are stuck into the hillside, and the roads are very narrow, but they're so disciplined. So every driver it just stays in his lane, and there's no shoving and no road rage. So, yeah, welcome to the Northeast.
Thinking. We should open it. Sorry? We should open it. Yeah. No. Rick, you want to do the honors?
That's very kind. One for you, one for your phone. Congratulations, Paula. This was a wonderful moment. Yes, you want to go. Leela.
It's beautiful, and I want to say something in Nepali. Timro Malai, Timro Kitab Sare Man Parcho.
Dhanyabad. Thank you.
When I read this book last night, what resonated with me was the Nepali, the language, and I read about the Bojuma, and I had a Bojuma because my best friend at university was a half Nepali, half Naga girl. Her father, it brings up so many memories. Her father was the son of a soldier, and her father became the deputy commissioner of Kohima. And his daughter studied in Kohima. That's how we met. We used to go eat at her Bojuma's house, and she became my Bojuma. Bojuma is grandmother. Right. So the beautiful thing about Nepali society is they're so inclusive, and they embrace you, and suddenly you're one of the family. So their grandmother becomes my grandmother as well. And it's so intimate. There are these women who are so strong and work so hard, and they're carrying heavy loads and trying to migrate to India, and made me wonder, they don't get Aadhaar cards, do they?
No.
Yes. So that's another huge problem. No voting rights. And yet they live like that, earning what little they can. So I really thank you guys for writing their stories. It brings tears to my eyes. And this is not just a collection of stories. You get to, I would call it ethnographical. You get to read so much about the lives of the women from the Himalayan foothills, their sufferings, and also their connections to the tea industry, which in Darjeeling has many tea gardens have stopped, and they have. I'll come to that later. I want to talk about handmade tea as well, but tell us how you manage to get so much from. It's like stories from all over, women from all over and their stories. It's a monumental job.
Both Mona and I are almost strangers in our own land. I've lived in Goa most of my life. I mean, for the last almost 30 years. So going back was a reconnecting. It is a little daunting, and both of us are not really, Nepali literature people. We read mostly in English, and she's a social scientist. Although I have a literature background, I've moved away also to different areas. So we just set it in motion by saying, call out to everyone for this Zuban's book. Speak up, we said. And then we had, asked them to send abstracts. And they started coming in one by one, and we were quite astonished also. And the kind of, since we didn't say we want this kind of genre or that, we left it open. So that was I think it was a good idea, because some of the reviewers are saying, because they're so diverse, that's part of the values of this volume. So we get to know about, migrant labor women. We get to know about migrants, say from Tibet and Nepal, coming in and being locked up in Sikkim because in the hills, because they couldn't go back because of the war that happened, and they had to stay. And we had stories about Tibetan women marrying into Sikkimese men. Though they are both Bhutias, they're very different. And when the marriage breaks up, the woman, she finds solace in her own culture. So, adjustments, resilience, surviving in strange land, all that was very much, part of our concern also, because we are constantly confronted by insider-outsider concepts, especially in our very small societies. There's a huge, very strong sense of being insular. Though in actual fact, we are quite open. The cultural practices are porous. Our food is porous also, but people still want to maintain their identities. So we had this set of women. Then we wanted to reach out to women from Darjeeling who've been through, the stories that came from there, who've been through the almost 10-year-long Gorkhaland movement and the kind of violence. Though we are culturally same, our political and social experience is a little different. Sikkim was basically a feudal society under a king and the landlords, whereas Darjeeling was a plantation economy under the British colony. So their colonial experience is different from ours. So even today that that does rankle a bit, but we decided, women are same, our experiences are same. So Easterine just mentioned about the tea garden. We have a beautiful article, photo essay on Hath Kochia, which means the handmade tea. And this came about because Gorkhaland movement, the tea gardens were shut down, and there's a lot of, disturbance. So what do women do? Men sometimes migrate, but most especially old elderly women. So they decided to make Hath Kochia, pick leaves from the garden. The gardens were shut down, the factories were shut down, so they have to make a live. And a a photographer, she and a writer got together and put together this beautiful piece together. And it's very powerful because in spite of, and resilience, it talks of hope in spite of everything, and survival in spite of everything. So that was, one experience they had in the tea gardens. Then you also had the state and civil atrocities happening there during this Gorkhaland movement. So we have some stories that came out about that also. There's one particularly painful story about nobody's child. And it's a child born out of rape. And this little girl, her mother sort of looks at her with a bit of disgust also. And this is sort of conflicting emotions of a mother. And says that the nose looks like mine, it's sort of flat. The neck is an intruder, and but the eyes are the father's. So the poor little girl, she keeps her eyes closed because it triggers off terrible emotions in her mother, looking at her eyes, and she, remembers that moment when this happened to her. So there is that. We don't hear about it too much, and there are also women who were raped, and later on they got married, and there is a poem there about a woman who says, "Shall I tell my husband?" She's happily married, but she's realized also if you confess that she had been raped by the CRP people, men, then they were abandoned. So that is one experience that we in Sikkim didn't face that, because that kind of violence. So that is their story. And we have a different kinds of stories in our own land of women being strong in spite of everything. And this book has everything, including a young girl talking about how she's told to, work hard, study hard, but you can also have to work at home, and you have to do this, do that. So, this pressures on young women who are being educated, but who are also made to work at home. So they say, what am I supposed to do? And there are women who want to, and there's stories about, we wanted to be inclusive, so we have LGBT stories also. We have some short stories, some academic surveys of its existence in Sikkim and how these people navigate a society like that with their situation. So we enjoyed doing it. It was for us, it was a great revelation, and putting it together. And also, I tried my hand at translation to test my, Nepali competence, and I did short ones, but I did it. Yeah, it was great. It was a wonderful journey for both of us. So I don't know what else I can say about the book itself. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Sort of. But I really want to say this in Nepali to you. Am goti garko jor decho.
Hajur?
Am goti garko jor decho.
What does it mean now? Your accent a bit.
Yeah, I know. There's a difference between the Nepali that's spoken in Nagaland. We are much more coarse, and the Nepali is spoken in Kathmandu. So when friends of mine migrated to Nepal, they could understand their Naga Nepali, but they were laughed at.
Okay, but what did you say?
Mangoes have fallen on the roof.
Mine?
Mangoes have fallen on the roof. I'm goti.
Okay.
But yeah, on a serious note, I really like the story about handmade tea. And I have a friend who is a tea taster. So I asked him about it, and he said he has tasted it, and his opinion was that it comes in different varieties, and some are outstanding, and those are quite expensive. I was just so glad to hear that, because I thought that then the women could, even if the tea estate has closed down, the women could have a living making handmade tea and selling it to exclusive shops. Is that a possibility?
They do that already, but at a small scale. It's not. It's not very large. The market.
What is handmade tea?
They pluck the tea. They don't go through the machine. And they pluck the tree and hand dry it, and then put it over the fireplace or sun dry it. And they smoke it, so they get that smoky flavor. Yeah, but it doesn't go through the tea making machines. Yeah.
We were in Siliguri and then went for a drive on the Darjeeling road, and it's so sad because miles and miles of tea gardens are there, but they're no longer working. So the land is there. I mean, you always say land is a problem, Prava, but I saw a lot of land.
Who owns? Who owns the land?
Yeah, so we have to start something and get the land for the women. Then they'll have a livelihood. I'm so curious to taste handmade tea. I'm a tea person.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah.
Then there's a wonderful photo essay. Somebody has taken a photograph of her ancestors, I'll call them that, her great-grandmother, whose name nobody knows. So her picture is there, big woman, she just looks so majestic, but she never found out her name. So those photo essays, they're amazing. Not just for the book, but important for universities. And
yeah, actually, in Sikkim, they started an organization called Confluence, and it's a photography archiving photographs from families and all that. But what Mridu, who is a visual scholar, she studies old photographs, and she was fascinated by the colonial gaze at our people. There are no names. There's a lecture woman, like specimen. It's a part of the anthropological enterprise of the colonials. You'd measure the nose and that kind of thing, and eyes, etc. So you're completely objectified. So she started. I should read a passage from there. She wrote this: "How shall I bring you home?" All these women who are photographed, no names, lecture woman, limbo woman, that kind of thing. But she also went to her own family archives and try to, through her just scrutiny and examining these photographs, trying to understand what kind of lives they led. As Easterine comments, there are no names, because this is a problem that she's even Eileen Phoning in her essay writes about. They have a family tree of going 11 generations. All men are there, no women. And I recently got, somebody sent me a kind of family sort of thing about all the male ancestors. And I said, what happened to our grandmothers, that kind of thing. So there is a erasure everywhere. It's nothing new, but there is a almost deliberate erasure of women. But these photographs leads almost like a contemplation, like a spiritual journey. She, in fact, goes back. It's also a migration story, because they used to come, her great-grandmother came to pluck oranges from Nepal. And she met her great-grandfather, and they eloped, and they decided to live in Sikkim. And that's how things are. But she was, Mridu, the author, was interested to trace her grandmother's journey back to her roots. So she went she heard that, her grandmother came from Taplejung, which is a Limbu territory. But the Rais come from another territory called Khotang. So she, that kind of thing. So it also leads generations later on to look, search for their roots. And she goes there, and it's her own way of understanding her ancestors. And we also have a very strong ancestral worship elements in our culture. The Rais and Limbus, we worship our ancestors. We don't cremate our bodies. We don't have designated places for their burial. They're buried in the compound, so they're always with us. So there are, times which are called Pitri Puja, and they're invoked, and they say they're looking after us, protecting us. That's how this is part of our cultural heritage or practice also. Yeah.
No, I like this book so much because for me it's the present and strands, the stories are strands, and then they connect with history and pull history into the present. And I really like the way you've worked with younger writers. I went through the book and saw many names that I recognized. Like Lekha Rai is one of the translators. And Lekha runs this delightful little cafe. It's called the Twins Cafe in Siliguri, which I will invite all of you to. And she has twins, so that's why she calls it Twins. And they have their own little festival every year. I've been to one of that. So Lekha has translated a story, and Lekha's young, and Yumita Rai is also
a writer who has done another story.
Yeah, and she's also very young.
Very young.
So it's so nice you have seasoned writers and young writers. Okay, great. Maybe we can let the audience ask a few questions if they want.
And we also have poetry. Should I read a poem or a part of this? Yeah. There is a very young, vibrant kind of writer, a poet. She's a teacher as well, and a performer. And she writes feminist kind of poetry. And this one is about, we all talk about our grandmothers being erased from our official memories, but we remember our grandmothers in our own way as granddaughters. So I'll read a little bit from that. It's called Boju. It's about her grandmother.
What does Boju mean?
Grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little longish, but if you're bored, I'll stop. It's called Boju, translated from Nepali by the author. I used to ask endless questions to my grandma, as if my curiosity knew no bounds. She knew everything. She is a mother's mother, after all. She attended to all my queries with patience, but the answers weren't literal. They were like idioms that I had to decode. Very wise was my grandma. If the spices are coarsely ground, all the enemies will be gone, she said. If the house is properly swept today, the future too will be clean. If you look at the mirror a lot at night, an old man will be your husband, she said. Grandma sure did know everything. Bulaki, these are ornaments. Bulaki, dhungri, mundri, all the kinds of jewelry she wore made me think she was very rich. I wished I could wear them all too and imitate her roasting corn in a horlang. She drank a sip of water after she fetched the second load of fodder. A drop of it ran down her neck and vanished into a strange scar below it. I was curious again. I asked her, "What's this? What's this scar?" "It's from your grandpa," she said, and tucked the sickle in her waistband and left to fetch the third load. There are many such scars on her body. He passed away when I was little. I just know him from the photos, and so I don't have many questions for him. Grandma is yet to wear glasses. She's yet to hold a walking stick. She milks the cows and fetches the fodder. She recognizes all the spices and grinds them into paste. The only thing she hasn't been doing is telling us stories like she used to. On the day of my return, she frowned, but she wiped her tears, saying that dust had got into her eyes. One of my glasses were already fogged up with tears. I bowed down to receive her blessings, and she took my glasses off, wiped them with her shawl, and said, "Here are your eyes. Make sure you find a good husband for yourself." Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prava. I think we have time for questions, and we will reply you in Nepali. Yeah.
I do apologize for coming in late, but I blame Vivek for that, for putting 3 sessions fantastic side by side. When I came in, I heard the part about the grandmother who has no name, who has photographs. So a thought came to my mind, is it appropriate to name them, give them a name, and they therefore carry a name henceforth in the future, even though it has been erased by other people?
That's an interesting question, because in our culture, we can't call our elders by their name. We call them by sinos, relations. So maybe that's one of the reasons. And because the men have to deal with the official things, maybe that's why the names were there. And the women were either they were grandmothers or aunt or mothers, or sisters. Maybe, I don't know. But I still think, I still think our names should be there.
So you're saying, if I'm correct, because I am from Goa, and I only learned about my ancestry going through my property documents. So in effect, I had lost my ancestral knowledge, but I regained it through Portuguese documentation. I was lucky. By saying what you're saying even though they had names in their lives, the older you get, their first names are raised and it becomes their title.
They're not used. It's
Unless peer to peer,
Yeah.
and then slowly as you get older and older, the titles keep changing.
Even that changes, because we have, like JT, Miley, Saili, Antari, Kanchi, these are different names of daughters according to their age. And same thing with men. So we may know third, Miley Pupu or Miley Didi or that kind of thing. So sometimes I think maybe that's one of the reasons. That's the thought in my head. But I still object to the fact that our grandmothers are not recorded.
I'm just curious that tourism is quite important in Sikkim, tourism, and what is it that we could learn from the way that land is managed or growth of infrastructure is restrained that Goa can learn from?
Well, in Sikkim, what's happened is, especially now, they think, like in Goa also, promoting tourism is an extra income, that's source of income. They are doing that rather recklessly. Yeah, and I'm not sure about the homestay concept either, because every household then becomes a money-making kind of thing. You look at a stranger, perhaps you don't see a human being, but you see the money that he brings in. There's my own wicked thought, and but they are promoting it vigorously, and also from social as well as from environmental perspective, it's very dangerous. Our land is very, very fragile. In the last 6 days, we had about 13 shocks in Sikkim. It's on the red zone. Earthquakes. And, we had the Glof in 2023, and we had other major earthquakes. So I don't think it's a good idea to have tourism as a promote tourism, because that's the quickest way of making money. It also means more cars, more vehicles going to. Sorry, garbage as well. Yeah.
So, Prava, your work is, apart from the book, we'd like to hear about the reading room, and we'd also like to hear about the Sikkim project, if you can, even if in short.
Yeah, we're going to have a PPT on that. Okay. Yeah, what's the time now? Maybe we can. Yeah, we have. If you have more questions, we can ask. Then I can, and I'll tell you my story. Yeah. So,
What last question?
Time out for the first session, no? We have 1 hour. Yeah? We have 1 hour. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Bina.
Prava, no, I don't need them. Prava, just an observation. Thanks to you, I did meet a very nice Sikkimese family, and they're very dear friends now. And my stay in Sikkim was one of the best I've ever had. They're polite, they're disciplined, they're very, very hospitable. And I agree that too much of tourism is not good for Sikkim, but I don't want Sikkim to be an isolated place.
It's a double-edged, policy, because our lakes, we have about 3 or 4 lakes which are about to burst. So, Glof might happen any time, and the ice caps are melting. Our rivers are drying. They've dammed up. We have our rivers are dammed for electricity. It's really terrible, and the land is sinking. And when they take tourists because they want to go and see the snow and the beautiful lakes up in the Himalayas, but recently a glaciologist had come to our reading room, and she was saying how carbon is accelerating the melting of ice caps. So less vehicles, less movement would be better for the preservation of our environment. And maybe we have to look for elsewhere for income generation. Yeah.
Sikkim has actually put restrictions on all these Delhi people buying land and stuff. Isn't that true?
Oh, that's also been before, that's also again controversial because what happens is they say it like this, the definition of an outsider. An individual from outside can't buy, but then we see that wholesale companies are coming and buying up land. The NHPC, the National Hydro projects, they buy land like left, right, and center. And we have many pharmaceutical companies who are there. But they are there, they say they take advantage of the CEZ zone and they get tax breaks. And they say to create jobs for the people in Sikkim, but it doesn't happen. Yeah.
Just like Goa, wouldn't you have to work on it now, not later?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are people, but they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen.
The government.
The government, yeah. And it's the big money. This Adani has entered. Reliance has entered. All these people have entered. Big way.
Prava, if my understanding is correct about women and inheritance laws in Sikkim, is there any work that's being done? Can you throw some light on that aspect?
Yeah. Well, in Sikkim, I think like in many tribal communities, traditionally women were not given land, what properties. They would give them, if when they got married, the families would give them, cows and a little bit of ornaments and all that, but there are no inheritant ancestral rights on ancestral property. That has changed. But something else is also there, that women from Sikkim, if they marry someone from outside, no matter, they lose their, rights. And but we're working on that. Yeah, to change with these, they have to change, isn't it? And the children who are born out of a foreign husband, they can't own anything, they can't inherit anything. Yeah.
So I was just mentioning when you mentioned that four other sessions today and everywhere else, when women marry outside their tribe, they tend to get ostracized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awful around, definitely.
Yeah, even within Sikkim, if a Bhutia woman marries a Nepali man, two communities, the Bhutia woman loses her right to land, her ancestral land. And there have been cases here, very big landlord, he only had one daughter. And since the daughter could not inherit the land, he sold everything and gave the money to her. But she maybe would like to live in Sikkim.
So he had to sell.
He chose to sell. I was so appalled because he comes from very traditionally very wealthy family and quite powerful person. But his daughter married someone from Kalimpong, which is across the river.
But the government law allows you to own land, or the civil law does not allow you.
This is very confusing there, but there's customary laws. And because, this whole thing about tribals and identity, and everybody has their own little things. And sometimes I feel it's very unfair on both men and women, the laws. That was made for different times, I think, Yeah. Yeah. So, any more questions? Yeah.
Well, I think I'd like to just thank you both for the book launch, and it's
yeah, and I'll give my presentation of my work.
Yes.
Oh, sure, yeah. I didn't. Has that been scheduled? That's fine. Go for it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're in the same session.
Okay.
But Vivek thought it might be a good, because the book launch itself will not take such a long time.
I see.
He gave me 1 hour very kindly and said you can talk about your other work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do you want me to man the slides or?
How does it work? This one?
What's the file called?
Oh, what is that gentleman?
What's the file called?
Where is that man gone? Oh, it's here. DG presentation, no? This one.
We've only got 5 minutes.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, then I didn't know the duration is 1 hour.
Yeah.
What? Is it 7 minutes? What's the next session?
5:30. We started at 5:30.
No, it was 5:20.
Sorry?
5:20 we had started
5:20.
and 6:05 and to end.
At 5.
6:05
6:05.
and 6:10.
Then we can.
But what is the problem? Can we not see it?
There's
The
another
next
person.
person has to sit there now. So there's a time schedule for
But
it.
she had 1 hour.
No, it wasn't 1 hour. They were given 45 minutes.
So what do I do?
It's the last session of the day.
Yes, yes, let's
Yeah?
let's watch it.
Okay. Okay, this is who we are. Okay, this is a community library I built in Sikkim when I moved there from Goa in 2014. I started this building. Oh, you're going to do this? You'll do that? Thank you. And how did it begin? I'm getting a little flustered because I had formulated the story. Now I'll have to go skip that a bit. I wanted to tell you about Dumigaon Reading Room Foundation. Why did I do that? Dumigaon is the name of the village, and it's a Rai village, and there's not a single Dumi there. So I asked around, what happened to this Dumi, and why is it called Dumigaon? And they said there was a Dumi here, but since he could not, during Chogel's time, could not pay the house tax, he ran away. But he left his name behind. I thought it was quite funny also, so I thought, let me commemorate his, situation there and name it Dumigaon Reading Room Resource Center. I can see, can you read? Basically, what we wanted to do is to create a safe place for children to come and read. And when I first brought all the books, the kids could not read, so we also started something else. But these are the children who come. They've grown a little bit more. And our vision is to reimagine learning spaces and build a reflective and socially engaged society. So we also try to engage with the parents and teachers and whoever wants to in the larger thing, educators, scientists, environmentalists. They all are part of our group, and creative people as well. So this is a foster culture of reading, because reading has decreased, and ours is almost non-existent, especially in the rural areas, because the schools don't really teach you to read.
In any language.
In any language. That's what I was appalled, And I said, all these books, and they would just look at the pictures, they could not read. And I tried to read stories to them, and the children yawned. So I said, we have to get reader teachers, to do it properly. So this is it. So this is the community library that I built.
Did you build a building, if I may ask?
Yes. And this building took us about a year to come to this design, and Inni Chatterjee, the architect, he designed it. And since I said I wanted it to be functional, strong, and beautiful, but I had a very limited budget, so he said, he designed it, but he said, I can't do it. It will not support my office. So we found another architect who was his class friend in Ahmedabad, who came and did the execution.
Is that for local design?
No.
Local design.
No. The wood is from far away, but that was the cheapest thing, material that we could. Then, because we are in a sort of isolated place,
going to finish in 5 minutes.
Okay. Can we go to the next one? These are some different sessions. We can talk later if you like. Yeah, can we go to the next panel? And this is our winter and summer programs. Again, to attract children to come and read and engage with books and all the creative activities. So we started winter programs and summer programs. The winter is a long holiday, and by the time they go back to school, what they call winter slide. They forget to read. So we do that, and the teachers are happy, parents are happy about it. And summer, the same thing. It's a shorter period, but we do some interesting activities also. Let's do the next one. Next one. This is what I started because they could not read. We started this program called Reading for Joy. It's an outreach program. We started with 2 schools. I remember, going to the schools and said, we have this, library, we have this resource, what can we do? Because nobody was coming. So we then decided to intervene directly in the schools. And where do we begin? So we had a reader teacher, trainer, and she said, let's begin at the primary section. We started with 2 schools. Now we are working with 9 schools. So our outreach team, they go out and teach them. This is our art program. We do this once a month, and as and when we get good people. We did this nature journaling. There's a wonderful nature artist in Kalimpong. She came and did a nature journaling course with them. Then we had Thibault, a French poet who came and did a workshop on poetry writing. Then we had Tika Bhai, who's also a translator and an award-winning Nepali poet. He came and did something there. And then the last one, we had a mini literary fest also, where we had invited writers from the Northeast and around, and we called it Voices Across the Mountains. So let's do the next one. This is the science program, because with reading and writing, we do reading in both Nepali and English. And science program is supported by Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, and that is also a very important component of our outreach program with the children. This is basically to demystify science and to not frighten them from mathematics and science. So we have to find innovative ways of teaching this. This is our bilingual web journal called Sikkim Project, The Land and Its People. It comes out every month. And this is our research wing called Reading Himalaya, led by 3 wonderful scholars. And they've been doing policy research and all that. And recently, this is our team. This is our Sikkim Project team. Mona Chetri and Nirvan, he looks after our book reviews. Then Tika Bhai is our poet and translator, and Kursong is our editorial support. Then this is our DG Reading Room Foundation. The 2 directors up there. The other director also leads our in-house training program. And these are our admin. And then Nisha is I wanted to talk about them also. It's not just my show, it's their show also. So Nisha is the coordinator of the outreach program. Punchukla, she's an assistant librarian. And that's Yammaya, who teaches Nepali. And the other one is, she's a new recruit. She is the science teacher, Tripti. And Bishal, who is an assistant programmer for us. And this is my message about libraries. And that's a little girl, a landless laborer's child, who recently thanked me for building the library. Yeah.